Hello, everyone. It's Chris Kapches. I'm the CEO of Chestnut Park Real Estate, and today I'm going to provide you with the very first report on the Toronto region resale market for 2025. I was going to use Charles Dickens' Tale of Two Cities as a kind of a metaphor for this report. But the reality is our marketplace is actually more than just two cities. It's more like three cities. So the metaphor doesn't work completely, but its purpose is to show how fractured our marketplace is. I'll begin by looking at the big numbers. I mean, overall, if we look at what happened in January, compared to January of 2024, we can see that sales are off by almost 8%. We see a lot of more listings coming onto the market. In fact, by the end of January, we had 17,157 active listings out there. That's a 70% increase compared to what we had last year. Now, that number is a little on the deceptive side because a lot of those listings are relists, properties that were on the market before, didn't sell, and are coming back, and probably with a asking price that's probably a little bit less than what they originally came out with. Taking about 37 days for all properties to sell. That's what was happening last year. That's sort of the overall situation in terms of what's happening. Not a particularly robust marketplace. The only thing that has stayed robust has been the average sale price. It came in at $1,040,000, which is almost identical to where it was last year, $1,025,000, a slight increase year over year. But as we dive a little deeper into this Toronto region marketplace, we'll see that it is fractured, a tale of three cities, let's say. First of all, if we look at sales of ground level properties, that is detached, semi-detached properties and townhouses, and we look at the performance of ground level sales in the case of the City of Toronto, or 416, and then we look at the 905 region, we can see a completely different performance. For example, detached properties in the 416, sales were up by 3.8%. Semi-detached properties were up by 25.7%, and townhouses were up by 15.7%. Good numbers, and clearly very different than the overall numbers, which, as I mentioned, were down by 8%. So then we look at what's happening in the 905 region, and we see a completely different marketplace. Detached properties down by 11.4%, semi-detached properties down by 7.3%, and townhouses down by 8.3%. So whereas average sales in the case of the 416 are up substantially for ground level properties, the opposite is true in the 905 region. And we talk about why that's happening in a moment or two. The other area, the tale of the third city, is, of course, condominium apartments. If we look at sales in the case of condominium apartments in the City of Toronto, down by almost 15%, 14.5% to be exact. And if we look at the sales of condominium apartments in the 905 region, down by 7.4%. So whereas ground level in the 416 sold very robustly in the City of Toronto and in the ground level housing types of property, the exact opposite was the case for condominium apartments. Sales were very bad, very slow, and in fact, we also see that average sale prices have come down, so that at the end of January, the average sale price for condominium apartments in the City of Toronto was $691,000. That has been a consistent declining number for a period of time. So we need to ask, why is that the case? Why is there a difference in the performance of ground level sales in the case of the 416 compared to the 905, and a difference in the sale of condominium apartments compared to those other housing types. Well, if we look at condominium apartments, we'll see that a variety of things are happening. And some of them, in my opinion, are structural, and they're going to take some time before they normalize themselves. First of all, a lot of investors have put their properties on the market because they don't find that they're profitable anymore. There's just not the return of investment. And as a result, we see a huge inventory of condominium apartments on the market. In addition to that, and there's an area where we can't even get metrics on, and that is the assignment market. That is investors, sometimes large investors, in other case, mom and pop investors who bought condominium apartments at the pre-construction stage, hoping that prices would escalate and that they would be profitable. They could either sell them or keep them as investment properties. Unfortunately, that isn't materializing, and the value of some of those pre-construction properties that were purchased, say, in 2020, 2021, 2022, that are now coming to market, and there's a lot of them, have lost a lot of their value compared to what they sold for back then. So the market is flooded with these hard to, as I said, find metrics for them, but they are playing a major role out there. And these properties, we can't find them on the MLS system, but there are places like eBay or Kijiji or Craigslist or Facebook that are dedicated to the sale of these pre-construction properties that investors are trying to assign before they get to their actual closing date. So you combine that with the fact that mortgage interest rates are still high, and that the bulk of the people buying condominium apartments tend to be first-time homeowners. That market is one glutted with inventory and affordability issues, and then these other tangential issues that I mentioned related to the assignment market. If we look at what's happening in the case of freehold, ground level, it would appear, and there's really no metrics on this, but probably the reason why the 416, the City of Toronto, is doing better than we have seen in the case of the 905 is there was an argument that during COVID, people left the City of Toronto seeking sanctuary housing, at least a term that's been bandied around. And what do they mean by that? They meant that they could get more space. They could get outdoor space. They felt that they were more secure as compared to the more dense City of Toronto. It would appear that a lot of those people may be looking to come back into the city, and hence, as a result of that, putting pressure on resales of ground level properties, while at the same time we see the opposite happening in the 905 region. And we also are seeing quite a lot of inventory developing in the 905 region. So this makes it very difficult to analyze the marketplace in any homogeneous way because of all of these factors. Ground level sales in the 416 as opposed to ground level sales in the 905, and then this very complicated condominium apartment sale marketplace. Both those properties that we can find metrics for that are listed on MLS, and as I said, it's not an underground market, but it's not easily accessible, the assignment market. Lastly, a lot of uncertainty in the market, and the uncertainty is primarily being driven by what's happening with the geopolitical issues that are developing, primarily coming from the United States. The threat of tariffs is creating uncertainty. There's fear of inflation. There's fear that we're going to move into an economic recession, all causing the consumer, particularly when it comes to big ticket purchases like homes, to be uncertain about their position and therefore uncertain about the decision that they're going to make. As we move into February and then ultimately into March, when the Bank of Canada meets again, hopefully some of this uncertainty will become more clearer, more understandable, and we can get some certainty in terms of where the resale market is going. But right now, as I said, it's a fractured market with a lot of inconsistencies. Very difficult to speak about it in a homogeneous way. You have to break it down in the way that I have so that you kind of understand what's going on. But until we do the February report, please stay well, and I look forward to providing it to you. Thank you very much.